Hey, Kris.
Hey, Mark.
So this is episode 2, right?
Yeah.
Of us taking the long journey of sharing all the things that we've learned, and sort of teaching the concepts and the disciplines and the tools that we've come to embrace. And there's so much to talk about. But before we get into all that stuff, I was thinking that it would be helpful for us to have, an episode with each of our leaders ultimately. And then down the road when, our leaders are having conversations, if someone wants to know a little bit more about one of our leaders, they can go to one of the episodes, and you'll be, your mini origin story will be part of episode 2, this episode. So as we were getting ready for this, you asked a question.
Well, it did, but let me also say, I love you.
I love you
right?
too, buddy.
Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's. And people don't say that very often to other humans, right? But
Yeah.
man, I love you. Like we've spent a lot of time together, and
Yeah.
I think it's really good just to say out loud at some point in time. Like
Yeah.
I think you've done such a hard work of building a company, and I'm proud to be part of it. But I do love you.
Well, thank you. It's cool and hard to hear because it's so personal, but it's been amazing, and I'm super grateful to have you, by my side these last bunch of years, and so the feeling's mutual.
Cool.
It really is. So
Now, first time we met.
Yeah.
Is that where we're headed?
that's where we're headed.
Let's do it.
Okay.
It was QCE
Yep.
2019.
Yep. Fall.
No, it was before because I came to Atlanta in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was the Q2 or however they do that. It wasn't the February quarter; it was the quarter after that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So summer.
yeah. So I sought you out, and I was trying to understand like the whole technology around EOS. I met Todd Smart and did that whole thing, and wanted to meet you, and we had I don't know what it was, maybe 2-3 minutes of a conversation, and you're like, we have to find a whiteboard. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh my God! You were like, we have to find a whiteboard. So we went and found a room on the side, and we found a whiteboard.
That's right.
Yeah, man. You took me through it, and that's when I knew you were my people.
Yes. I forgot that
we had
one.
to do whiteboard, right? Like that was a moment because it wasn't about the sales engine we were going to do or build. It was like, this is how it looks. This is the visionary moment, and
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, we went into one of the little conference rooms,
yeah.
and they had a Post-it board or something up, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. So,
And that took us to, so obviously we did that bit together, and we kept talking, and eventually I came to Atlanta at your house, right?
Yeah.
And then you showed me your model. And I mean, for those people who never understand, this is a spreadsheet upon spreadsheets, right?
Yeah.
And it was this beautiful mind moment where I knew, again, you're my people, because all of it was being mapped out. Like you had worked and you had understood it, and you were working on it, and go, this is what gets here to there, and yeah, no, we probably did hours that day on your model.
yeah. At that good old farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you think that was the
That was
fall maybe of
fall of 19.
19?
Yeah, because it was after, I'll call that August-ish something.
Yeah.
And then obviously there was the opportunity to buy some stock that happened that year. And
Yeah, that happened early 20.
No, it closed in 19.
Did we close at 19?
Yeah, I bought stock in 19.
Yeah, so one of our original developers, a funny story there, right? Who I didn't know this when I first got involved with this pair, Sven and Eban, but I learned many, many months later they were both still in college, which no one had shared that with me. And because one of the co-founders, he brought them to the table. But yeah, so Sven needed some cash and approached me, and I said, well, I've just put a lot of money in this thing, but there may be someone who'd be interested in buying it from you. And I remember very clearly he had 64,000 units, and you bought half of his units, and I remember he was wanting to sell all of them, and I'm like, Sven, I think you're going to appreciate this investment down the road, so I really don't want you to sell all of it if you can. And so he thought about it and came back and said, okay, I'll sell half.
Yeah, no, I was ready to buy them all.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. I would have wrote the check.
And just to set the stage for that. So, those units, you bought them for about, I'm pretty sure it was $1 a unit, and the most recent raise was, close to 40. So, so that wasn't a bad investment.
No, it's a good investment.
So speaking of investments on the origin story, and I know we've only got like a half an hour here, and you're like one of the best storytellers I've ever known. I mean, sincerely, I love hearing your stories. Not all of which we're going to publish.
No. We some of those are bourbon stories, Mark. They're not all.
But coming out of college and you're sort of the beginning of your career, I think that's a great story. And if you can sort of tell that and then bring it forward, and if it's possible, like in 10 minutes, to joining the strange world of EOS.
Wow.
I know, hard, right?
It's hard. Well, I think you and I have had this conversation a little bit, but I thought I was supposed to go and do like finance. Like that was my thought, right? Like that was my world, and I was going to go do it. And then I got really lucky and met a company that was called McMaster Car Supply Company that was about leadership, and they had a leadership management development program, and I didn't understand what that was exactly, but then I got to go do it for 6 or 7 years with them, and I got to do a different department every year and saw it in such a different light of what did it, between being a controller to being head of marketing and sales, and then so for me, that was the hook. That was the science and the art of really business building.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was a family-owned company, right? So and I realized that I didn't want to just write my name on the back of the check. I wanted to write it on the front too, right? So the entrepreneur in me led to that we got to go do something different, and hit the .com scenario. Like you and I say this often when we're interviewing people, right? So it is a part of, it's a point of pride for me to go, I went and did it. Like I stepped out. It was crazy. It was chaos. But First Analysis out of Chicago is a good firm. We raised money from those guys, and $18 million on the back of a napkin over dinner, right? That's a real story.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't make it up. Like it happened.
Yeah.
And then we failed epically.
It happens.
It was an epic failure, but you didn't know it. 28 years old, right? As you're running around, and we did projects in Mexico and other places, but it was such good learning, right? And as I sit upon like coaching and talking to customers today, it's just one of those moments where like you have to go do those things. Like if you didn't do them, you wouldn't know, right? Like, and I'm that person where I can't talk about it if I haven't done it. Like I need to go do it.
Yeah.
I need to go be in that moment and experience it and live it, and then I can talk to you about it. Otherwise, if I didn't, I can't.
Yeah.
Right? It's not for me.
Yeah. Gino would call that just theory.
This is theory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no true experience there behind the things that people want you to talk about, but if you've never really done it, it's like
Well, and I'm a P, you're a J.
Yeah.
Right? And we have those moments at times where I have to still, I can't just speculate about it as much as, I mean, I'm not saying you're speculating, but you just know.
Yeah.
Like you know.
Yeah.
And I don't. It's a testable theory for me.
Yeah.
Like until it's done, I don't know. But you come from a place of knowing, and often you're right. Right, I'll say that. Right, you're like that's a thing.
Was that painful?
I'm good. But that's just not me.
Yeah,
Right. Like I have to go know.
Yeah.
But what I know, then I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you refer to J's and P's, right, we're talking about Myers-Briggs,
Right.
And we use a system called Type Coach, which is a version of Myers-Briggs, and we're really close to the founders, and it's a super cool tool for us because it helps us, understand one another, and I've said this a lot, and I always think it's I smile saying it, so hopefully people when they hear it will smile. I always say I'm an INTJ with P envy, right, and because I do know that I'm quick to form judgments. It served me really, really well in the world of investing, and in particular, looking at opportunities. Right? It's like, well, why would you know? Why would we spend 5 minutes on this thing? It's obvious this company is blah 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 blah. Right? So it's like any sort of tool, right? It has both a good and a bad side to it. But one of the things I've always appreciated is the yin yang of our J&P, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so back to
the journey,
the career. Yeah.
So did the .com thing. Went to a software company. Eventually, that one got bought by a publicly traded company, and that's where I really learned I wasn't not meant for that. All of a sudden, I had 500 people reporting to me. Did not love it at all. There was no culture, right? And so I got to get fired, which is a hard thing to happen to anybody, but I got fired. But it's one of those moments where I think if you haven't been fired, you need to be fired at one point in time.
Well, and I'm much more at peace with sharing what I'm about to share than I've ever been in my entire life. But I've had 4 jobs where I worked for a company, and every single one of them I was either fired from or threatened to be fired. So 2 times fired, right? 2 times threatened, and I think that's something probably that many entrepreneurs who don't realize they're entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
Experience.
And what was really interesting though, is I got to get an outplacement service, right? Like, so they send you to the person to talk about like, what do you want to do next with your career? And it was really healthy. And I'm like, I want to be a CTO. And this woman was like, you have no credentials to be a CTO.
Yeah.
This is not going to happen.
Yeah.
You cannot be a CTO. And I'm like, why am I going to be a CTO? so as interesting as that is, like I had a week or two later, I had a friend call me up, and they were doing a divestiture from a publicly traded company to a private company, and he's like, "Hey man, we would love for you to be COO of this company," and I'm like, "Could I be CTO as well?" He was like, "Sure, you can be CTO too." And so at that moment in time, that it was because I really wanted to figure out like what it meant to like actually like lead technology and on the whole thing. But
right.
And that was MCPC, and it was a incredible ride. I mean, what we thought we got was not what we got. We had 300 people, and the people we spun the company off from. They lied, right? So they got to wear orange jumpsuits, and they went to CEO and the CFO got to go to jail.
Wow, yeah.
But it was a hard ride,
yeah.
right? But it was a good journey for me.
Yeah, and then
I spun out a company from that and did that for 12 years. It's called Vox Mobile, and it actually just got sold. But I left in 2018 to go figure out like what was next for me, which is how I got to this place, right,
yeah.
with EOS and 90.
Yeah.
I fast forward a little bit there, Mark.
Yeah.
We could do that for a long time, but yeah.
Yeah, and then when you got into the world of EOS, right, you ended up. Yeah, I always remember Gino one time early on in my tenure with EOS. I was saying, I'm going to do 2 things. I want to become a coach, and I want to build this software company. And he made a comment and something to the effect of, you can't ride 2 horses with 1 ass. And I in my head I thought, well, you're doing that. You're still coaching. You started EOS.
That's right.
So obviously I did that, and then you ended up doing it as well, right? So
yeah. Well, and
yeah. So how do you So what do you think about that dual journey that you've been on, and what do you love about it? And is there anything that you think has been hard about it?
Well, the hard part is I didn't set out to do it. Like you and I have had this conversation a lot, right? Like
yeah.
I really wanted just to go coach.
Yeah.
And then technology was an afterburner, an afterthought, and thought, well, it would be good if I could go help others do that too. But it wasn't I didn't think I was going to do it.
Right.
And so I've been the reluctant person
Yeah.
for you in your life. It's like, I'll do it, Mark, but I don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
But it's a brilliant journey. I mean,
Yeah.
it has been special. And when people ask, I'm always like, the reason I'm doing it, and I spend 4+ days a week, right, doing it, is
Yeah.
because it is that special. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I am grateful enough, and I've had a good enough career and place in life where I have choices, but
Yeah.
I choose this, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a choice.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy to be part of it. Now, what do we got? 140 some employees, and
I think we're right at
more.
150.
Yeah,
it's
or
crazy,
more.
right?
And I remember when we were less than 10,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I knew Christine and Michelle before I knew you, which
Yeah.
is weird because I was a client before I was involved. But so it's a choice, right?
Yeah.
And I feel really good about that choice.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I remember now, I said to you, it feels like a year ago, but it's probably less than that, right? Where I was like, Kris, I need the full you, at least a 4/5 you, or else I got to go get someone else. And I know, that conversation may have taken place a couple of different times. And then I remember this very, very well, you and I sitting in San Diego, right, over dinner.
Over dinner, yep.
Yeah. And you'd gotten to the point where you're like, I can do this. I want to do this, right?
Yeah, because let's be clear. There's few things that I have really, but when I'm in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't, once it's unleashed, like
Yeah.
you feel it, right?
Yeah.
And I think you felt it since then.
Yeah.
Right? Like
100%,
I'm in,
Yeah.
and we're doing really great work that way, but it takes a moment for me to go, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else in the origin story you think for right now it would be helpful for people, or just getting a sense for you after they probably watched a few videos and podcasts and things?
No, I think, Mark, I love the fact that I'm a player coach, right? Like, I'm still playing the game,
Yeah.
right? Like, when you're coaching companies and they think about it, they're like, how accurate the things that you tell them, and it's still real. Like,
Right.
we still do it, and we still struggle, and we fail, and we come back, we win, we learn, we tell that story, and that gets people super excited. That we're not just sitting on the sidelines going, oh, 20 years ago we did this.
Right.
No, we're doing it every day.
Yeah.
We're in it, right? And we struggle with it, but we do it.
Yeah, I love that part of this game, right? I mean, and that's part of the reason I'm excited about, just doing these podcasts and having these conversations, because, we're not just, and look, I hear myself before I say things sometimes, and you don't want people to misinterpret what you're saying, but for me, being able to because I still do a little bit of coaching, right? So being able to talk about it, not from this is what I experience, but this is what I'm experiencing, right?
Right.
And in particular, right, as I think, really helping leaders, we talk about the stages of development, right? And really truly building what we call a stage 5 company, which is a company where someone would either love to take it over from you in terms of being a leader of it, or to buy it from you, right? Really getting that company to the place where, you've built something you can pass on to the next generation, right? That last part of turning a business into a company is something we've been deeply experiencing now for a couple of years, and I do believe that. And when I say this, it's hard to say sometimes, but I am super confident that the company doesn't need me to be great. I think I can help a lot, given where it is still, right? But to have it now to the point where it's genuinely a stage 5 company, and your culture's strong, identity's strong, where it's going is clear, how we organize it, and how much our ideal stakeholders care about it. Getting it to that point has been, a lot of work, but it's cool to be able to talk to people about our own experiences using a tool or using a concept or struggling with getting a discipline like KPIs and metrics to the point where everybody in the company is has a strong sense of what good looks like and when an issue exists, and they're comfortable talking about issues as opposed to being defensive about it, sort of that whole journey, and being able to just sort of say, here's what we've experienced at 90, getting from here to there. I love being able to talk about that.
Yeah, and we'll have an opportunity here soon, but I think we're good, but we're not great yet.
100%.
Right, like we're in pursuit of it, but we're not there. And I had an opportunity to do a all hands company meeting with a client this week, and they had 40 people in the room, right? And I was going to do Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of team attention to results and attention to results. And I started off, and I was like, who in here wants to be a good human, right? And everyone raises their hand. They should, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to be great? Who wants to be a great human, right? And and you could see the moment, the pause, right? Because that's a different level of commitment, right? But they did, and people raised their hands, and I'm like, so now
what percentage of the people raised their hands?
I don't know, probably 80%.
Yeah.
I think they took a moment, but they did raise their hands. I'm like, who wants to build a great company, right? And then you could see them look around, like, that's a commitment. Now we're gonna commit to this. I'm like, because your leadership team's committed to it. They're bought in. Like, they're trying to build a great company. And the reason you're here today, and the reason that they're spending time on an offsite with 40 people, is because they want to build a great company. Yeah. And I think you and I committed to that a long time ago, right? Like, we're going to build a great company. Yeah. We are building a great company. We're not there yet, but we will. Yeah. Right. And that's the opportunity.
Yeah. It's you can't be great without doing great.
Yeah.
Right. But when you pause like they did, it's not everybody wants to be great.
No, but even the optionality of answering the question is good, right? Yeah. Like that moment in time where they had to decide when you ask them, and which is what we do, and that's why we do all hands and the quarterly conversations that we do, right? It's just to keep getting people to buy back in to say this is the pursuit of it. Yeah, like we're not there, but we're gonna get there.
Right. I don't know if we'll ever be there. And knowing the way you think and the way I think, really?
No, I think we're going to get there. No, I think we will.
To there.
To there. To there when we know that, I think it's there. I don't know when it's going to be, but I think it's there. I mean, I think it's going to happen, and we're going to sit back at some point in time. We're going to look around, and they don't need us at all, right? Like, I hope they don't.
Right.
Ever, right? Like, the company's going to be that healthy, that high performing. There's, I love to talk about the fact that, it's a system of accountability. Yeah. No one wants to be held accountable. They just want to be accountable. Yeah. We're creating a great system and a great company where they can just go do it. Yeah. They don't need us.
I think the difference, maybe that the way I'm looking at it, and perhaps the way you're looking at it, is I just think the world evolves, pretty darn fast. And so, I think you'll always be there. There'll always be that next hill, that next thing that you need. I mean, it's like going from, right now we were talking with, our head of people, Meg, about, when are we going to have a global workforce at 90 versus, predominantly, almost entirely, sort of in the U.S. And I think she was saying, 1 to 2 years to be able to do all the things that we needed to be able to do to serve all the people that we're serving across we're in 40 plus countries right now, right?
Right, we are.
And so, that's a sort of like a whole new dimension to the business. And so, yeah, I just, knowing me, and I think knowing you too, right? Is great 100% or is great 90%? Because I doubt we'll ever get above 90.
It's 90% or better. I mean, I think that's going to be there. We're not going to be 100%. Yeah. Because there's always the next step and the next evolution, right? Yeah. All of a sudden we're in, pick a number of countries, 50. Yeah. Who knows? But there is another revolution into that scenario. We just got to figure it out. Yeah. Yeah. But they won't need us for that market. Yeah. At some point in time, they'll know it.
When Jono and I were together for the episode 1, we actually started with a segue in and we started with a segue out.
Okay.
And we talked about doing that, like for all the podcasts, and we didn't do it today. But segue out. What do you think?
You mean like a personal professional best moment?
I don't know.
What'd you guys do? Did you?
I think we talked about. It was funny. I should watch it beforehand, right? I don't remember exactly what we did. It may have been something that we talked about and was worth reflecting or commenting on the way out.
I'm going to go to a hard but good moment for us, right? Like, so we had a board meeting and we got together in Miami to prep for it. And it was going to be a hard board meeting, right? Like we knew it. And we worked hard to pull the data together. And I'm projecting on you for a moment, but we didn't think it was going to be a good board meeting.
Right.
Right. Like we didn't know exactly how it was going to go down.
Yeah.
Right. And then it went really well.
Yeah.
Right. Like it was a good board meeting at the end.
Yeah,
it was good at the end. And there was such that night, like we went and had dinner and drinks or whatever, but that was a moment like I thought we came together as a team, right? Like the team that we had in the moment in time. And you just don't, you don't always know how that goes down, but it was I was deeply appreciative of that opportunity to work through something that you didn't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that was we were pleasantly surprised by how well that board meeting turned out. And actually, it's just for listeners, it's, we have this plan that's been something we've been deeply believing in for a long time and executing against, and it includes us losing a fair bit of money for a number of years.
Well, this is where we go again a little bit different. I say investing, you say losing.
Right. Fair enough. I agree with you.
I believe it's an investment as long as you know what you're getting from it, right? Not losing. Yeah. I think that plenty of companies I've coached lose money. Yeah. They do lose it, Mark. Yeah. Like we haven't lost money.
Right.
I know where it goes.
Yeah, 100%. And you've corrected me on this a bunch, and I'm a slow learner, so I apologize for that. But the good news, that board meeting was around the budget for 2023. And we thought with the nature of the world, everybody's focusing on turning your companies into cash flow positive in the companies that have been funded by venture capital firms. And so we were like, no, we want to continue to invest.
We're going to invest.
And we put forth our arguments, and the board bought into those. And then the next board meeting, we put forth our argument for why, if we could do a Series B this year, it would be awesome in terms of being able to turn our vision into reality. And we got that approved and got the Series B done. So that was a very, very good moment for this year. So my segue out is actually uncomfortable for me, but it's your segue in terms of saying I love you, and in terms of just the commitment we have to one another, to the company, to all of our employees. I just super appreciate the way you do you. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right.